Hi there, greetings and salutations. Good evening to you. My name is Jake Query. That is Derek Schultz. Once again, I'm trying to get it so that I look as big as you do, Derek. Maybe I need to inch closer.
Yeah, it's tough because I've been going to the JCC a good amount. So to be as big as me is going to take a while. It's going to take some training. But thank you for saying that.
No, your head is. Let me try this. Hold on.
Thank you for saying that.
How's that? Is that better? But you know, several people have asked about my artwork in the background, my incredible lighting here. I probably need to work on the lighting of my studio, but nonetheless, and so far, a couple of episodes in, I have yet to have a cat appearance. But let's get right to the brass tacks, Derek. The bottom line is this: you know, we can mess around and perfect, and I can sit here and change my lighting effects and do all I want. But now's the time to get serious because tomorrow it all begins. The Colts Grand Park Westfield training camp underway. There's a lot to unpack with it. And I have thoughts on this of some conflict, but let's just simply begin with Derek. Your thoughts now. The Colts once again reporting tomorrow, first day of practice, training camp begins.
Yeah, I guess hope springs eternal in a way, right? I kind of approach this in a two-pronged way. My general default setting for a new season, any sport, NFL, NBA, Major League Baseball, college basketball, college football, you know, the sports that we mainly talk about on this show, is optimism. That is my default setting. I want to believe that the team that I am following, watching, covering, rooting for in some cases is going to be successful. And when you're starting on day one, it's kind of like the first day of school, right? You think, oh, I'm going to make friends and my teacher's going to like me and I'm going to know where my locker is, blah, 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 blah. That's sort of how I feel about the first day of training camp with the Colts. The problem is, Jake, is that it's just become tougher and tougher really the last 9, 10 Augusts. You might have to, or Julys, you might have to go back even farther than that to find reasons to be anything other than default optimistic, if you know what I mean, right? Yeah, just Derek, with where they are right now. I mean, it's just, it's not very invigorating or exciting.
My concern, and by the way, thank you as always to Bailey and Wood for being the presenting sponsor of this program. Golf outing upcoming. That means giving back to the community. That means having a ton of people show up and a ton of fun and helicopters dropping golf balls from the sky. All of it's awesome, everything about it. And we are greatly appreciative and always honored to carry the Bailey and Wood name and colors and everything else with us each and every broadcast here on Query and Schultz. So we are most grateful to Mike and the family. You will hear us talk about them over the course of the show. The very best in your mortgage home needs. Derek, the problem with the Colts, and I hate saying this, I wish this wasn't the case, but you and your wife and son, you guys travel around and you've done and enjoyed going to different cities for weekends, right? You did, yeah, you go to zoos. So, and I've had the pleasure, I've been very fortunate to have been to all 50 U.S. states. And some states more than others you hear a lot about. Everyone talks about California's great, Florida's great, New York's great. Give me a U.S. state that if you found out tomorrow that you were getting transferred to go there, you're like, it's fine. It's not terrible. I'm fine if we have to live there. Cost of living seems nice. People seem nice. Weather's okay. But I'm not doing backflips either, and I really wouldn't expect a lot of people to visit me per se because there's not a lot to do, but it's fine. Give me a state.
Well, the first one that I thought of was Ohio. Like, I'm fine with Ohio. I wouldn't be doing somersaults.
But you hear a lot about Ohio, right? I mean, the Browns.
Well, yeah, I mean, there are reasons to go to Ohio.
How about Iowa? How about Iowa?
Yeah. Well, but I would not be happy or content living in Iowa. I do not want to live in Iowa.
Either way, that's the Colts.
Yeah,
that's the Colts, right? Yeah. If how often over the course of the next 17 weeks are we on this program in Indianapolis, Indiana, going to discuss or mention the Minnesota Vikings or the Carolina might be kind of interesting, I guess. The Arizona Cardinals, they're fine. You know, they're fine. I mean, Arizona, though, is such a, to use your term, dumpster fire that, like, Jacoby Brissett's holding out and getting more money.
I know. Yeah, it's wild.
But either way, I just feel like the Colts are, at least as of now, I hate saying it. It's not good business for us to say it. But they don't have a lot about them that jumps out. They're to some extent, last year it was a good thing because they were like excitingly boring, right? It was efficient. They got out to a start, and you're like, man, this offense is high flying. But there just still doesn't seem to be a lot of personality that jumps out about them. There are some enigmas about them, and there are some question marks at players just due to injury. But it's injury is the reason they're interesting. But going into it, I just feel like it's a movie that we all know where this is headed. Hey, you going to watch season 3 of Ozark? Yeah, probably, but I saw 1 and 2, and I really enjoyed them, but, like, I kind of know where it's headed. And it feels that way here because Chris Ballard said today, Derek, look, I'm not expecting a contract extension because I got to win this year. I'm glad he finally figured that out, but doesn't it feel like, barring something really, really big, that this is going to be a year where they're just kind of stuck in the same spot?
Yeah, I mean, I think my prediction for them, barring something unforeseen, is going to be like 8-9 or 9-8 because I think that's firmly where they are. I think that's what their talent level is. Could things break the right way? And could you talk me into this being a 11-6, 12-5 team? Yeah, you could. If they refound what they did over the first half of last year with Daniel Jones offensively, I actually think the offense is going to be good. If Leatu Latu takes the next step as a pass rusher and the secondary stays healthy, then the defense will be solid to good. But you're just relying on a lot of things going right. And as we've seen of the Colts the last 10 years, very rarely do things go right. Very rarely do things go perfectly. And you could just as easily talk me into this team going 5-12 because it goes the other way, right? And I think for the most part, Jake, in the NFL, that's kind of the beauty of the NFL. Every team kind of starts with a baseline of
course,
outside of the outliers, you've got all these teams in the middle, like the Colts. They start with a baseline of 8 wins, and then it's like, okay, there's a variance that kicks them to 11, and there's a variance that kicks them to 5. And that's how it ends up kind of shaking out every single season. But I do hope, Jake, the last thing I want to see is for this team to finish 3rd in the AFC South and be a game out of the playoffs again. I would rather see, and this is going to sound weird because nobody likes losing, right? I would rather see them go 4-13 than go 8-9. I really would, because at least there would be some finality and we could kind of move on from all of this. Not just the roster, but from Steichen, from Ballard, and just kind of start with something new and fresh and exciting. And next summer, we can be excited about that team going into the day 1 of training camp.
Okay, let's begin with the positives here. First off, I do think that Leatu Latu has shown some stuff here. And I think he could have a year where we say, okay, I get why Chris Ballard laughed and was like incredulous for their in-house show that they do, showing draft night, about the fact that they got, as he calls it, the best pass rusher and the first player, the first option at defense in the draft in which he was selected. Fine. I do think that he has the flash to be a good player. I think they actually drafted well this year in getting a linebacker that in Lou Anarumo's system can be a quarterback on the field, so to speak, and be, and I'd never heard of this until recently, the green dot guy, right? That gets the
green dot. Heck yeah.
The coach is speaking to them in the helmet and they're the quarterback on the field. But so there's that. And I'll get to that in a second. Sauce Gardner is an elite talent. There's no question about it. I would make the argument that cornerback is not necessarily the place that builds you titles, but nonetheless, they have a great player at that position. And I do think their secondary looks very, very deep, which is not an easy thing to say in the NFL. I'll give Chris Ballard credit. I think they have depth at offensive line. It might be an area where that depth is a bunch of guys that are 6 and 7s, no 5s, no 10s, other than Quentin Nelson, who's very good, and Bernard Ryman on the left side is very good. But in terms of their depth, some guys, Jalen Travis, for example, going a little bit out of position, trying something new, but, he's played there before on the right side. So there are some areas of intrigue. But let's get to the health status of a couple of things here. First off, Daniel Jones. I want to begin there, Derek. Daniel Jones has been cleared to practice. That's great. And it's amazing that he is able to be out there and moving the way that he is at this point after the injury that he had in Jacksonville. That's wonderful. But having said all of that, being cleared to practice doesn't mean that you are cleared to play in games. It means that you no longer have a limitation in terms of the motor in which you're going. But there are a lot of things to work out. Is his leg that was basically dormant for the last 7 months, going to be strong enough to come back into the fray? Is he going to have balance on his legs? We just completely lost Derek, by the way. I have no idea what's going on.
Oh, no. Here, I'll come back. Hang on. Keep going. You've got a good thought. You got a good thing going here.
I mean, are you a professional here, or what are we doing?
No, I think it's because my charger's right next to my camera, and I think I knocked it. I'll come right back. Hang on. Sorry. Technical difficulties, folks. No, yet, Jake, you actually had a good thought, and you very rarely have a good thought, so keep that rolling.
If you look at Paul George, somebody pointed this out to me. I think it's a very good point. If you go back and you look at when Paul George was coming back from injury for the Pacers, yes, he came back, but it was a while before he had symmetry of strength in both legs, because one of them obviously had been dormant forever. And that can be, and I know it sounds crazy, kind of a dangerous thing, because you don't realize you're doing it as an athlete. You become overcompensatory on one side, and your muscles develop a movement that is not natural until it is natural. And then you've got to retrain it back to, okay, now you've got the proper assistance next to you. That's going to be something. When they talked about Alec Pierce and said once he's out on the practice field, they got to ramp him back up in his rehab coming off of his surgery. That's exactly what they mean. They've got to get used to that. And you look at, I hate to say it, you look at Tyrese Halliburton. What happens when you have lower calf injuries? It manifested into a further injury, and the same happened with Daniel Jones a year ago, because you were compensating in the way you moved, and thus creating new movement, new sensation, new stress on an area of the leg that had not felt it before. He has recovered past that now, but that means that he is going to have areas of his other leg that are now having to readjust the way they're moving. That's why all I'm saying here, long-winded and circuitously, is because he's cleared to practice does not mean that he is cleared to be in game level of movement. That's what this training camp is for. That's the case with Daniel Jones. In Alec Pierce's case, I know they can say, well, he's a week away from getting out there and really ramping it up. Well, then he's got to ramp it up and get back into playing shape. Both of those guys, Derek, they are veterans. They know how to play. They have timing amongst one another. But it still is, every day that you're missing is a day that you need to be out there getting rhythm. And that is so true for C.J. Allen, because yes, it might just be that he tweaked his calf during a workout, as they say, and they think it's a 1 to 2 week thing. Fine. But every practice that he's not out there is another time of high-speed reps where he should be understanding the tendencies of his teammates, feeling things out, being able to see things, anticipating different sorts of formations that they're going to see and that he needs to audible to when he hears that voice in his green from the green sticker in his helmet, all those things. So these are injuries that, as of right now, on the opening day of camp, don't appear to be major. But this franchise tells us that you always have to be aware of the fact that injuries can breed injuries. I'm not hoping for that at all. I'm just saying I think it hurts them a bit because these are players that need precision and need as much time as possible to create it.
Yeah, and that would be, I'm not saying that you're wrong, that would be the pessimistic viewpoint.
Understood.
I think the optimistic viewpoint is, if we were in January right now and I were to tell you that Daniel Jones is going to be cleared for a full go in training camp, DeForest Buckner is going to be cleared for training camp, and Tarvarius Ward's not going to have any issues, he's going to be back with the team, et cetera, right? You would have taken
Sign me up. Correct.
Right? You would have taken that.
Right.
So
yes.
I think ultimately where the Colts are with their health situation is actually very good. Yes, Daniel Jones needs to ramp back up, but at least he's ready to do that from the get-go. At least he's ready to do that right now and not on September 1st or October 1st, right? He's not behind. He's ahead of the game. And I think that should give you some optimism. I'm not going to sit here and make any declarations or speak in absolutes about, yes, Daniel Jones will absolutely be fine and be his usual self again, or at least the self that we saw in the first half of the 2025 season. But at least he's going to have the opportunity to do that. There's nothing physically that's going to hinder him or hold him back from reaching that once again now, given the timetable and the fact that he busted his Achilles very late in the season last year. I mean, we were worried that that was going to cost him games. And not only is it not going to cost them games, at least with where we sit today, I think this is wood.
Don't knock on wood, Derek. You're going to knock your camera off again.
Oh, well, that's true. Not only is this not going to cost him games, it's not even going to cost him reps. It's not going to cost him practices in training camp.
I think, look, I like him. I like Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
And I thought last year it was fun watching him play, and I thought it was a great story. And I give him credit. He was left out to pasture in New York with the Giants team that was a complete disaster. They traded away the one weapon that he had and then considered him to be a bust. Is he inconsistent? Absolutely. Was he consistent last year? Yes, but he started to show a little regression there. But I like him. I'm pulling for him. I want him to play well. I hope I'm wrong about all of this. I'm just saying I've been around this a long time, as have you, Derek. I have, I'm older than you are, but, I remember the Marvin Harrison nagging injuries at the end. I remember the storylines of, it's just a week. And if this were a game situation, I've been there before.
It's hard to trust the Colts with any injury news. Now, I don't think that 98% of the time they intentionally lie or mislead. Right. It's just hard to trust them because it feels like it's always, and this is probably true of most NFL teams. It's probably the most optimistic sort of viewpoint. But with Pierce, I'm not going to worry until I feel like I have reason to worry. Even if he misses the next, let's say, 2 weeks and he stays on the PUP list, that still lines up with the timetable that we were originally given in March for the cleanup on the ankle, right? So if it extends any longer than that, then I'm going to start to worry. This right. CJ Allen thing, I think, is a nothing burger. Sounds like he just has a calf. He might get activated like tomorrow from the PUP list. So that sounds like a fat nothing burg. And I am thrilled that DeForest Buckner with a neck. I mean, you talk about nerve, neck, back. Those are always issues that are giant red flags, especially for a dude that's A, a big dude, and B, an old dude. He's 32. So the fact that he's back as well, I think that's great because he's just really the heart and soul of that defense. So, I mean, I think the injury update actually was very good for the Colts. I'm feeling really good about where they are right now, even with, PUP is always a panic thing. And, ask me in 3 weeks, right, Jake? Because this could change just like it changed umpteen times with Andrew Luck or all these other players over the years. Marvin Harrison is a deep cut. We're talking about almost 20 years ago, but he's a week away. He's a week away. He's a week away. He's a week away until, the season was over, Derek, essentially at that point.
I'm going to go back to what I said earlier today about DeForest Buckner. DeForest Buckner, from the time he got here, and we can sit here and debate till the cows come home about whether or not they gave up too much to get him and whether or not they should have given up a first-round pick for a guy at that position and, his availability and health and et cetera. He's been the consummate pro in the time that he's been here. Yes, I know that ultimately you would like a guy to have more availability. I get it, okay? But he has been a great pro. He's been a great leader. He's liked and admired and respected by his teammates, and he has produced. It's unfortunate for him that he has come and been in Indianapolis in a completely mediocre era that was not able to provide results for him. But DeForest Buckner right now, to me, in terms of, and I don't mean him as a player, DeForest Buckner is a better player than Chris Ballard has been executive, okay? But this year, DeForest Buckner and his availability somewhat represents Chris Ballard and his future. Because if the Colts have a really good year and they go 12-5, then it's probably because DeForest Buckner's there for a lot of it and they're having a really good year. And DeForest Buckner then, because he talked about the fact that due to the neck, he contemplated retirement. He knows that he's towards the end. Chris Ballard today said, I need to win this year or else I know basically that I'm at the end. What I'm getting at here is if this is a year where the Colts underachieve, injuries happen, they go 6-11, the whole thing's going to be blown up, then DeForest Buckner's gone. There's no way he comes back to come back to a rebuild project. And there's no way somebody rebuilding brings him back, as great a guy as he is, because of his age and the question marks and everything else. So Chris Ballard's future is kind of largely tied in the same way as DeForest Buckner's future, and the fact that these are two guys, if they don't get results this year, then both of them are gone for two kind of different reasons, but both of them are gone.
And to be fair to Buckner, I mean, his first 4 seasons, I think he missed 2 games. So it's really just been the last 2 years is when this stuff has really popped up, as it does with giant defensive linemen and wear and tear and all of that, right? I mean, they're basically in a full-on head-on car accident every single play of every single game that they're in. So I do think that the health situation is good, but, some of the other things as far as just the fragility of this roster in general, I'm not talking about injuries now. I'm talking about the injuries that are inevitably going to pop up. that brings me some concern because I just don't think, there are a couple of guys that you just can't stand to lose. I'm not just talking about Jones at quarterback, but like, can you imagine if Jonathan Taylor ran into something this year? What would you do if Alec Pierce's ankle is busted? What are you going to do? There are a couple of guys that if you lose them, you lose Latu. I know people are a little, kind of lukewarm on Latu. You lose him, what the hell are you going to do at pass rush? You got nothing else.
Do you remember when Trent Richardson was here?
Unfortunately, yeah.
Do you remember what he ran into?
A buffet?
The back of Ryan Kelly on a regular basis,
yeah.
Right? Yeah.
Oh, God.
Taylor, again, great player. And he may have 1,400 yards this year, Derek. It's amazing to me with Jonathan Taylor that he is yet to turn, 29 years old? I mean, there's a lot of mileage on those tires, no question about it, if you go back to Wisconsin. But again, if you look at Taylor's numbers a year ago, you look at his average yards per carry once Daniel Jones went out. Daniel Jones is the most valuable player in the NFL in the career or the season stats of Jonathan Taylor. Jonathan Taylor absolutely changed, and I understand why, right? Because everybody just loaded the box and there was nowhere he could go. So now the question becomes, if something happens to Daniel Jones and you got to rely on Jonathan Taylor, then who is it that is there to keep a defense honest? Is it Riley Leonard or is it Anthony Richardson? Because I got news for you, Derek. The big bombshell news today, and I know this will stun you. The Colts are still open for business with Anthony Richardson. They like him. He's a great kid. He works hard, just a great teammate. I mean, let me tell you about Anthony Richardson. And I do think he's a nice kid, don't get me wrong. But Chris Ballard, man, he is selling up that bad boy. This 57 Chevy, it blows cold air. The windows run great, man. The neighbors, when they hear it, are going to be impressed. I mean, you need this car. If you want to be the envy of the block, you need this car in your driveway. Just make an offer. Make any offer. And there's a reason that he's still on the roster.
Yeah, I mean, the lemonade stand is about to go up again, right? It's been taken down for a couple of months, but you're about to go out to the curb and put out the sign and make the lemonade and get the cups and the whole deal. Because
I'm going to have a juicy peach IPA.
There you go. The reason why I think this is back on the radar again is because Richardson's base salary, his roster bonus kicks in August 1st. So his base salary is all that a trading team would be on the hook for. So I am far more willing to take a flyer on Anthony Richardson if it's only going to cost me like 1.2 million. I think it's just a little bit over $1 million. So I'll take a $1 million bet that a 24-year-old is maybe a reclamation project. I'll do that for $1 million. I'm probably not going to do that for $7 or $8 million like I would have had to a couple of months ago if I made that trade.
No, I understand it. I mean, the Colts clearly are, and I don't think, listen, and I think people need to understand this. There is not any sort of a reason to think Anthony Richardson is anything other than a very quiet, almost humble young guy. Are there stories of him having parties at his house? Okay, fine. I mean, he's 23, 24 years old, whatever, to your point, Derek. To me, there's no reason to want him to fail. I don't think anybody wants him to fail. I just think that he represents a desperation move by Chris Ballard in the fact that there was a 10%. He was Adam Dunn. He was either going to be the biggest home run of all time or an incredibly embarrassing swing and a miss down on one knee. And for the Colts, at least, he is the Adam Dunn strikeout. Somebody else may get him, and they're not going to get Kyle Schwarber or even prime Adam Dunn, but somebody else may get him, and he becomes a situational pinch hitter that gets you a long sac fly from time to time. Great. That's where he is, I think. I don't think he's going to be a long-term quarterback in the NFL, and I think he has very little trade value until, to your point, he's bargain basement bin, and then somebody says, we'll give you a 7th rounder for him. Okay, fine. And they take it, right?
Yeah, I think he probably, just because he's so athletic and so traitsy, I think he probably ends up looking good enough in training camp for a team to take interest. But I think we're entering – traitsy, yeah. I think we're entering the final weeks of Anthony Richardson as a Colt.
What is traitsy?
traitsy, like he has great traits, athletic traits, agility, escapability.
Is that an actual word?
Athleticism.
I'm looking this up. There's no way that's an actual word.
Speed.
Okay, keep going. I'm looking this up.
Traitsy. That's what the Colts did with that big bet that they made. They bet on his traits. And it looks like it's a losing bet, but that's generally what happens. You know, swing big, miss big. Right?
Is this
if you're going to make another baseball comparison.
Traitsy, is that right? Traitsy?
It might be traitsy, SEE, maybe. I don't know. I don't actually know how it's spelled. It's a commonly used phrase.
No, I'm looking it up.
Traitsy.
Here.
Very, very traitsy. Ballard also saying that, alluding to the fact that they would keep 3 quarterbacks again. I think this is just a play on, it does Chris Ballard no good to sink his own ship. So why would he talk poorly about Richardson?
It says if you met the word Traitsly is an online tool used to build custom surveys, run assessments, and create branded reports. Is this your new marketing job showing up here? Traitsly?
No, it's not that. Traitsy.
No.
I'm not sure if it's in a dictionary. It's an innovative word. It's a cutting edge word. It's new, it's fresh. It's a little dangerous. Traitsy.
I don't think so.
It's a good word. It's talking about new and fresh and a little dangerous. Let's get to our friends at Hoagies and Hops and Chili Water Brewing. Buddy. It's time for our Hoagie and Hero of the Week. This is brand new on the menu. Scroll down at hoagiesandhops.com, or you go in at 42nd and Boulevard. You will see it there. This is one of 4 new Sandos on Christina's menu that I know she's really excited about, and I think she said this has been the best seller so far. This is the Hoagie Balboa. So what you got here is some London broil. You got some Cooper Sharp American, Philly style, right? Pepper shooters. Delicious. See the red bulbs there? Absolutely delicious. You got a little prosciutto, a little Prove in there.
Why'd you take my pepper shooters?
You got a little balsamic. You got a little oil. You got a little Italian seasoning. You got some L in there. Hoagie Balboa in homage to Rocky Balboa.
Amazing. And listen, Hoagies and Hops in that whole area is just, it's such a cool spot. You go in, you get one of these sandwiches, go right next door, get yourself a chili water. It's a little bright right there. This is the Landslide. The Juicy
Landslide made me down.
What?
I've been afraid of change.
That sounds nothing like Fleetwood Mac, but thank you.
Sounds beautiful.
Perfect this time of year. Absolutely perfect. Still time to enjoy the weather. Just enough hops to it, but it has.
Ooh, that's got a bite.
The peach taste to it. Well, that's the hops, the IPA. But
Juicy peach IPA, yeah.
Peach absolutely balances it out. And then the sandwich.
Bite in there. I like that. It's crisp. That's refreshing. I haven't had the Landslide in a minute. I know we featured the Landslide before in the show. I don't think I've had that one in a minute. That takes a bite right in. Hold on, I got to take a bite of sandwich while I'm doing that.
The sandwich is outstanding. And I'm telling you.
Hero of the week. It's so good, right? Christina just comes up with this stuff. Hero of the week. Sticking with Philly, even though I will never associate this person with Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. It's just impossible for me to do so. I think it'll be weird to see him wearing that jersey. I think it'll always be weird. It's not the decision that I would have made. But I'm giving my hero of the week to LeBron James because he somehow kept this Philly thing under wraps. I mean, everybody thought it was going to be Cleveland or Miami. Early on, it was Golden State, remember? And then it was Cleveland or Miami, Cleveland, Miami, Cleveland, Miami. I think to be able to keep things under wraps in 2026 is an amazing feat. But he also dominated the NBA news cycle. And I think what you're seeing here is LeBron, for the last time, controlling something in his NBA career. There's been so much in LeBron's career that he hasn't been able to control, right? These narratives and how he's talked about and the criticisms and all that other stuff. I'm not saying that he didn't make some bad decisions or say the wrong things or, had some missteps himself. But I think ultimately this was a really just an unbelievable feat for him to control this the entire way, keep it under wraps, and then make his own decision and screw everybody else. It just has to be a relief for him. It's got to be a freeing and empowering feeling to make a decision like this and know that people are going to say whatever they're going to say, and who cares? I mean, there have been a lot of athletes that have been crushed under the, oh my God, I'm so afraid what people think of me. Like Alex Rodriguez, I think, was one of those, right? Heard this all-world transcendent level talent, and he just got crushed under the own weight of him being scared to make anybody upset with him, and to the point where he was just, kind of a phony. I think there was a part in LeBron's career that had phony vibes and things like that, but I think this was, now in year whatever it is, 23, the genuine product, because he knows this is the last time that he's going to be able to dominate the news cycle like this again. I don't think this is going to work, by the way.
I disagree with that.
I don't care that they have Brown and Maxey and Embiid and LeBron. I don't think it's going to work. Philly hasn't been out of the second round since 2001. I think we had mentioned on the show earlier. I don't know if there's a franchise that has had more talent and has kind of less to show for it, even though somebody got really mad at me on the YouTube comments about that, because they've had so many great players. I mean, now you add LeBron, just the latest to the list. But overall, yeah, I think they'll get out of the second round. I think they are a title contender. I don't think it's going to work in the sense that I don't think that anything is actually a championship is going to be yielded by this group.
The sandwich is amazing, by the way. Couple of things. Number one, I disagree. I think he still has gas left in the tank. I think he's an incredible talent. I know that's not popular to say in Indianapolis. He's going to turn 42 years old this year, which is amazing. But the question mark is going to be, how many games do you actually have LeBron and Embiid both playing together? Because just durability, right?
Yeah.
Maxey's amazing. Brown's amazing. They have very good players in Philly. Very good players. And he's going to run point, apparently. That frees some people up. I mean, I think they're going to be very, very good. And I hate it because I do think, and I know that I'm a moron when I say it, I still believe that Indiana would have been a good fit for him and for what they need. And I know at the time people were like, he's not going to come to Indiana, dude, get over it, because they can't afford him. He's making $8 million. He's making 2 year $8 million. He literally took the league minimum to go to Philadelphia and finish with what he hopes is going to be a 2 year run to get himself a ring. Is that ring chasing? Whatever. He's a great player, and
here's what I'll say,
be a good piece for them.
You have to go back to the Durant Warriors for the last time that this blueprint worked, where you just have like an absolute all-star team that won a championship. In today's NBA, what you need is OG Anunoby. You need Lou Dort. You need Derek White. Like that's what you need on your team to win a championship. You need guys like that surround. Yes, you need a couple of stars. Even the Knicks, like Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns, aren't to the level of, well, I mean, Brunson is now, but it wasn't previously when he signed, right? Aren't to the level of some of these guys that we're talking about here that are MVP contenders and things like that, or former MVPs like you have in Philly with Embiid and LeBron, and Jaylen Brown has been in that mix before. But you need to have kind of the sum of its parts to make it work. And we've seen these teams that have tried to throw these all-stars out there, the big three or whatever else. And Philly, it's more like a big four, big 4.5, big 5. So they go deeper than the usual big three, but I don't see it happening.
Well,
that's my prediction today.
I think the Pacers are going to have to take advantage for the next 2 years, while they still can, of playing at that accelerated pace, because their strength was wearing people down with that bench. And the way you take advantage of that is you run and you wear people down. Speaking of running, Derek, I want to get to my hero of the week. I don't disagree with yours, right? But a guy that is a friend of mine, and I think you know him as well, Derek. You've met him before. And I just think the world of him. And I mentioned this on my radio show, but there's a guy that we got to know who is a Paralympic athlete. He was on Team USA. He ran track in cross country at Indiana State, and was born premature and had cerebral palsy. And learning how to walk was a feat and an accomplishment, let alone learning how to run. And we had on the radio show, Derek, many moons ago, when he was participating as an Olympian, a Paralympian, for Team USA, Ayden Gent, who lives in Indy.
Yeah,
and is the
it's a
star
great
of Fletcher
dude.
Place. He's a great dude. And Ayden's become a friend and just is one of those people you meet that every time you're around him, you're like, this guy is always uplifting, always upbeat, always happy. I just love being around him. And we have gone a couple of months ago. I was at the Rathskeller. We were watching the Elect play, and Ayden lives in Fletcher Place right there. So he walked over to watch with us. And at one point, like, you've always been in that bar where, like, there's somebody has to be the first one to go out on the dance floor, right? And it was Ayden. So Ayden goes out on the dance floor, and he's dancing, and he's having the time of his life. And eventually everybody else went out there as well. But I was watching him, and I thought to myself, I have a ton of respect for this because he's dancing to his own beat here, and he is as happy as can be in doing exactly that. And I have such a respect for that. But more so, I have a respect for the fact that he didn't ask me to mention this, but I just think it's so impressive. He wrote a book called Running My Own Race, Overcoming Life Obstacles with Perseverance. And, it's 200 plus pages of his journey, traveling the world, spreading his message of optimism and radiance and smile and friendship, but doing all of it not by dwelling on what it was that could have held him back, but rather on what it was that motivated him to continue to take one step forward and do it even faster than the time before. And writing a book in general, to me, is uber impressive. So my hero of the week is Ayden Gent, because just to be able to write that book and also to be able to share with everybody else his story, his journey, put it on Amazon, the book out there, Running My Own Race by Ayden Gent, absolute salute to it. So Ayden's my hero of the week.
Yeah, great dude. Talented guy, humble guy, handsome guy. Yeah. We share a lot of the same. We share those traits. We're traitsy. Handsome, humble, talent.
That's not a word.
So that's why we've always been friends.
That's not a word.
Ayden and I.
What's the other one you say all the time that's not a word? And I'm like, nobody says that. Midtown, nobody says that.
Yeah, that's an accepted neighborhood term here in Indianapolis. I don't know if that's really a word necessarily. It's a neighborhood.
If you think so.
It's a neighborhood.
We still need to discuss the weekend, right? And the weekend that was.
Yeah, I was putting this off. Let's get into, I understand that it's now behind us, but Jake is viewed as a racing guy because he's on the radio network. Whoa. So we'll talk about the Brickyard discourse. I feel like we do this every year. I'll give you a reason for, how about this? Optimism. That's been kind of the theme of the show. I'll give you another reason for optimism when it comes to the Brickyard here moving forward, but we'll jump into that when Query and Schultz presented by Bailey and Wood Financial Group.
What do you think of this? Which lighting looks best? How's that look?
I don't know, man. I'm going to break. Bye.
Hey, which games are we going to tonight?
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in. It's going to be a long night.
Bailey and Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8 Sports Hummer.
Hey, AC!
Nice snap.
Mortgage is a snap! Duh!
Bailey and Wood, a lending hand for Wish TV Sports.
Speaking of our friends at Bailey and Wood, a week from Thursday is their annual golf outing over at Dyes Walk down on the south side. They are the proud presenting sponsors of Query and Schultz, BAWFG.com, 855-350-HOME for our friends at Bailey and Wood Financial Group. Whether you're looking to get your pre-approval for a home mortgage, I had their koozie somewhere. What did I do with that thing? I've got it out here somewhere. I don't know. Did my kid take it? Whether you're looking to get that pre-approval for a home mortgage or refinance, you can do so with Mike Wood and his 5-star customer service team at Bailey and Wood Financial Group. They have umpteen Indiana branch locations as well. So if you want to walk into a location and talk to somebody face-to-face, you can do so and get that friendly customer service right in front of you instead of over the phone or on the internet. But BAWFG.com, 855-350-HOME. And a week from Thursday, Jake and I will be out there at the Bailey and Wood Financial Group golf outing. Going to be a lot of fun. Can't wait for it. The Brickyard 400 happened over the weekend. It was a bad race. That's not a subjective point of view, I think that is widely accepted. Even NASCAR diehards know, look, it's just not a good product. The car that they put out there does not race well. They can't pass in dirty air. There wasn't a green flag pass, I don't believe, right? It was all, not for the lead. Okay. And there was, and all of the action that happened was on pit stops and things like that, as far as the passing was concerned. So we've known that for a long time. I will say that while it's impossible to know, it's impossible to differentiate between if there were 50,000 people there and 70,000 people there. I don't believe there were 70,000 people there. I don't believe that, because I know what the support level is like in Indianapolis for this race, and it's near zero. That said, the pictures that I saw, Jake, it did look like there were more people than I remember seeing in past years. I went to that race with my dad in 2017, and I'm telling you, there weren't 20,000 people there, okay? Like, it was empty. And that was, I think, rock bottom for that event. And then you had COVID, and then you had, like, you go to the road course and the whole deal. I do think that at the very least, the Brickyard 400 hit a bottom. And now you're starting to see it kind of rise back up again. Now, it's never going to get to where it was in 1994, 95, 96, right? When this thing first started, and it was an even hotter ticket in some cases than the Indy 500. It's never going to get back there. But I do think that this can at least solidify itself into a stable event. But I think, Jake, even if it's stable, what NASCAR really needs to do, NASCAR and everybody involved, they just need to get together and say, hey, we know we can't reinvent this race, but what can we do to just, at the very least, maximize what's out there now? Because they have to put out a better product, right? It has to, something on that car has to work better. Like, I'm not an engineer. I'm not even like a P1 level race fan, but there's got to be a way to make that a more entertaining product than what we've seen these past couple of years. I mean, that race on Sunday was a bore. It was a chore to watch. I would rather be doing anything else than sitting there and watching that race.
Here's the thing. First off, on the crowd, I'm in turn 3 for that, and that section was closed. So, but where I was and looking across at turn 4, and I can see from 4 towards the paddock area, it looked pretty good. And what I could see in turn 2, it looked pretty good. Now, the video I saw along the main straight did not look as good, but I don't know what the number was. I would tend to agree that 70 sounds high, but it was better than what I've seen in recent years. The weather cooperated a little bit because it wasn't as unearthly hot as it's been in years past.
It was slightly cooler.
Right? It was warm. But I agree with you, Derek, in the fact that I really enjoy the O'Reilly Auto Parts race that takes place on Saturday. Those cars are a little bit smaller. They're a little racier. And that was a pretty enjoyable race. And it was last year as well. It was a great finish a year ago. So those cars can go side by side in the corners. They can do things, I think, that the Cup cars can't do. And that's not the fault of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It's really not even the fault of NASCAR in general. I think all of the advantages that the Brickyard 400 enjoyed at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway in its early years and through its apex years, most of those advantages now, just through attrition, are no longer there. Whether it's the fact that everybody has gone to see the Speedway that had never been there before, everybody that, all of the things that made it unique seemingly now have leveled off. And I don't know what that answer is. I think a change to the cars. Joey Logano afterwards said, like, look, the thing that would do best is for us to go with the smaller cars out there. I mean, that some sort of aerodynamic change to those cars is probably what the answer is going to have to be. But the television revenue is such, Derek, that it almost offsets it because they make so much still in television numbers. And I have not seen what the ratings were, but the overall contract is such that you have to maintain and sustain it. Now, do you get to a point where you then go in rotation on it and it falls off for a few years and then comes back in order to regenerate interest? I have never heard of that happening, but is that something that is explored? Possibly. The one thing that I'll say is there was all this discussion and somewhat polarization about what that track means to the drivers in 2026. Shane Van Gisbergen was asked about it, and he's like, yeah, I mean, no, it really isn't any different to me. Well, he didn't grow up here. He grew up in New Zealand and raced through Australia and then came to the United States. I think some of those younger drivers talk up the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. It feels obligatory, but they're still at least complimentary and they understand the heritage of it. And then Kyle Petty says it's not a crown jewel race because even though the venue is historic, the event is not. And I understand what he's saying there, but when you do the burnout, as happened after the race, when Carson Kvapil won on Saturday, when you do the burnout and you do it on the bricks, and you can sit there and say, I mean, come on, they're racing on bricks anyway. What difference does it make? If the race and the venue, and I don't know, it was for Kvapil a breakthrough win, so maybe that's why he did a burnout of the tires. But if the race and the venue merits that sort of a celebration, then there should be an understanding and an appreciation for the symbolism of why that celebration is such. And that's because those bricks are indeed hallowed ground within the sport of racing. And they are told routinely that's the one thing that is requested upon them when they win the race. So in that area, young driver in Kvapil, he erred with that. And NASCAR erred in somehow allowing that to happen, even though they allegedly told him not to do it. Either way, I still love being out there. I look at it and I'm like, man, I'm at the racetrack for a race over the course of the weekend. But there is no denying that the other thing that comes into play, Derek, that I think just hurts it. And again, not NASCAR's fault, but we live in a world now where people just want things shortened. And that race is really long, Derek. I know it's always been 160 laps, 400 miles. But between the stages and then a caution thrown in here and there, and they did not have a green, white checkered finish, but if they had, it was over 3 hours. And the reason soccer is so popular is because going into it how long it's going to be. I mean, there's bonus or extra time or whatever, sure. But for the most part, 2 hours, I'm in and out. And the NBA as well, you have a pretty good idea. 2 hours, 10 minutes, I'm in and out. I think the NFL is hurt by it a little bit. And I think NASCAR is hurt by it in the fact that race, it got to 3 hour mark and I'm like, okay, this is long. And it felt long, truth be told.
Yeah. The whole crown jewel thing, I don't really care. It doesn't need to be a crown jewel race for you to accept it as a crown jewel place.
Right.
Indianapolis is just more meaningful. And yes, I'll be a homer about this, but it's a much more meaningful track than Michigan or some of these other places. Sorry. You might get a better show at some of those other places, but it's a much, much more meaningful track than the only ones that are even in the conversation are a very small handful of NASCAR tracks that they hit over the course of the year.
But by the way, Gritty and Matthew wanted to know about my artwork, Derek. At some point, am I allowed to show my artwork?
Yeah, at some point. Can I make a comment on the burnouts? And I'll be old guy in the room. It drives me nuts when the Nationwide, Xfinity, whatever it is, Busch guys do it. That drives me crazy. And maybe that makes me old guy and you say, whoa, whatever, he's celebrating. It's a breakthrough win. That's great. He's in the AAA circuit. It drives me nuts. Those guys should not have the right to burn out on the bricks. I don't think.
Wait a minute. Are you also, so then will you finally agree with me on this? A team winning a one-game Major League Baseball playoff doing a champagne spray is absurd?
Yeah, well, you don't have to worry about that anymore, right? Because they have the best of three. Yeah, they have the best of three. But yeah, the coin flip champagne celebration game was that was a little much. I would agree with that. Yeah.
Okay, good. Thank you for agreeing with me. But I disagree, though. I do think that I understand for those guys why it's special. I do. But just don't do it on the bricks. That's all. Don't do it on the bricks.
Yeah, it's not hard to not do that. And there's always an excuse. Well, it's radio malfunction. Look, people know that you're not supposed to do that.
Right.
Okay. I don't buy it. And Dale Jr.'s a nice guy. I don't know. Maybe he was being sarcastic. I don't think he was, because I think he has a reverence for the place. But
he absolutely does have a
reverence. Yeah, I think it's BS. We could talk about your artwork. We could talk quick hits when we come back. Also, I saw something from Jake and I was like, wait a minute, is Jake using AI now? The oldest guy who can barely operate his own laptop? We're going to talk about that. See, he's looking at me like he has no idea what I'm talking about.
I don't.
Come back with that next. It's Corey and Schultz, presented by Bailey & Wood Financial Group here on the ISC Sports Network.
At Bailey & Wood, we
Welcome back. Bailey and Wood presents Corey and Schultz, ISC Sports Network. He's Jake. I'm Derek. Thanks for making us a part of your day/week. While we're on the racing topic, let's go ahead and hit this with our quick hits. The new IndyCar for 2028. We got a little sneaky peeky of that. It is the IR28 that we received the peaky day sneaky of. It will replace the Dan Weldon 12, the DW12 car that we've had for many, many years at the end of the 2027 season. And soon the renderings will be replaced by an actual car. I know they've had that thing under wraps for a while. What I saw, it looked sleek, looked cool. But then again, Jake, I think race cars ultimately just look cool.
Right. I'd agree.
I don't think you have to try very hard to make a race car look cool.
Preliminary report is that there will be a test at the beginning of August at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. There actually was one of the cars out on the road course today. John Oriovitz got video of that, albeit brief, but there was. And then there were renderings that were released of the car itself. Several people have asked me, and I appreciate it, my thoughts on it. Derek, I'm not a car tech guy. Like, I don't necessarily understand wings and aero and all of that. What I know is this. What I know is that, you know, you still have the aero screen, which is good because it protects the driver. You do have, according to the drivers, one of the things that is notable about this car is it does have a lighter weight to it. So it frees around a little bit. A driver like Alexander Rossi has to love that because Rossi is a free driver. He's the kind of driver that likes the car kind of loose to go around. And the combination of the hybrid and the aero screen on the DW12 really kind of just weighted those cars down where it's tough to move them around. So theoretically and seemingly, it makes it racier, and it makes it not to the point that the aero kits did, where we had 65 lead changes in the Indy 500 per se, but I do think that it allows and puts a little bit more into the hands of the driver in terms of the bravery and the skill set and the balance of the two, and that part is exciting. I think it looks cool. It definitely it's like myself, you know what I mean? It looks it's sleek and sexy. It's you know what I mean. It's got a good look to it.
Whatever helps you there.
That's true. I mean, a lot of people commented on that, to me about that. Now that I'm different hours, I'm at the pool. I got a little more tan going to me, a little more color. I just look healthier.
Got a little raccoon eye thing going there, but that's because of the being at the races, right? Where you got to have the sunglasses on. And there's really nothing that you can do.
You can do about that.
I've got nothing else really interesting with the whole quick hits thing. Kirk Cousins is QB1 over Fernando Mendoza, at least to start camp. For now, and the Big Ten commissioner wants a 2014 playoff, as most of the folks do. So I don't think there's anything necessarily that's there either. So that's kind of where we are with that. I wanted to get into this, and I'm trying to find it now. I don't see it. Okay, here it is. Yeah. You had a conversation with Tom Dienhart, who's a buddy of mine and a colleague of mine at goldenblack.com about Purdue football and Purdue basketball on your radio show. And I really like how you guys do the clips now. It's great. I wish we didn't really have the capacity to do that when we were doing our show however many years ago, right, to kind of take, I mean, we got up on video stream and then a week later they fired us. So it was a little hard to end up doing that. I think eventually we would have gotten there. But like I read the bio, and I'm not sure who actually posts these. Maybe you don't post these, but I thought, did Jake write this? Because it read like it was an AI sort of descriptor. And I thought, well, that's good that Jake is being good about his work, and maybe instead of working 15 hours a week, now he only has to do like 11 hours of work per week. But I was reading through some of it, and I was just like, man, that kind of sounded like, because I don't think your conversation with Tom did not hit what that wrap-up said. That wrap-up kind of implied that Purdue wasn't adjusting well to the transfer portal and all of that, whereas I think you can make the argument that they actually are, because they've kept up their previous model and not needed to go into the portal to remake their team every single year because they've had the continuity of some of their other players. And when they've gone in the portal and they've gotten Caden Pierce or Oscar Clough, they've gotten their number one targets.
Right. So for what it's worth, I will tell you that while I'm on the air and those conversations are taking place, not long after the conversations are taking place, and while I am still on the air, those clips are being put out and promoted via social media to different platforms media-wise. And I'm being totally serious when I tell you this, Derek. I don't know whether that is internally done by somebody within the multimedia department of the radio station, or whether they have outsourced that to an AI thing. I honestly don't know the answer to that, because I'm on the
I have a platform that does it for you. So you can actually do that through StreamYard. We don't do that for this show, but you can actually do that through StreamYard, where they can use AI to take clips out of your show.
Well, but are you saying
create bios and all that?
But do they, like, for example, with this one, would AI like somehow misinterpret it that you were using words that actually exist, like traitsy and things like that? Or
no, AI would know traitsy, because large language models, people use traitsy all the time, and they input that into prompts to AI. So yes, traitsy would be used. Have you ever even dabbled though? Like, are you just anti-AI, or you did not gonna, like, you've never popped on like Chat GPT or Google Gemini and been like,
I've done it with
ask something.
Yeah, it's, I've done it before. Like if there's something that I recognize, I'm like, if I see an actor and I'm like, well, how do I know this guy, whatever, or like a song, I've done that before. Like, how do I know who this is, or who do I know? Yeah. I did do one thing that was pretty amazing. I hate to say this, but I gave it, because at one point, Derek, I'm like, you know what? I mean, people are like, you can't send it photos because they end up in China or whatever. I'm like, all of these photos that I'm putting up there are on Facebook anyway, right?
Yeah, so everybody sees all your stuff.
I took like 12 pictures of different things about my life, and then said, like, put these into a poster, like a caricature poster. And it was unbelievable. It posted this picture of Shannon and I with Boo and her 3 dogs at a Pacers game with like the pagoda in the background. It was unbelievable. I mean, it was the perfect synopsis of my life. But Shannon did notice, and she did comment, and again, Chili Water, thank you very much. Shannon said, did you ever notice that every time that we do a Chat GPT thing, it puts a beer in both our hands? I'm like, yeah, because we like going out and having a cold beer, like at Chili Water, right? Just like the Landslide.
I mean, I could see that. That's cool. Yeah, it has helped me with some work-related things, like some like tedious, like busy work things, like tracking and spreadsheets and things like that. It actually is a good tool. You know what AI is actually horrible for is looking up sports related factoids or things like that, because it hallucinates stuff all the time.
Keep it that way.
It hallucinates stuff all the time. Like, it might remember that Peyton Manning had a neck injury, but it might say that, well, Peyton Manning's neck was injured in 2008. And it was in a game against the, Montreal Expos.
Right.
It's not quite to the level of kind of honing all of that stuff in, but I'm just fascinated knowing how you are with technology. I'm just fascinated to kind of see you even dabble in something like that. And you're just getting old. I mean, you're closing out on retirement age, so you might not need AI. I don't know.
That's true.
Maybe to find nursing homes.
AI will replace me, Derek. We know
what I'm freaked out about and a little worried about, if I was in your shoes, because this doesn't really affect me because I'm not on every day and things like that. But I do worry about how great they are at replicating voice, and the video component has gotten a lot better in the last year or so. And pretty soon you're going to be able to make a clip of right here. You're going to be able to make this exact clip and have us be talking about, I don't know, doing drugs or stealing cars, or you know what I mean? And it's going to look like the genuine thing.
It has gotten to the point now where when you see a video that's incriminating from a celebrity or something else, I mean, the first thing you
have to wonder, right? Yeah.
Right.
Because I haven't stolen a car or done any drugs in years. So the fact that AI can just do that.
Okay.
It's very problematic.
Job, is that right?
Okay. Let's not get into that. It's largely been decriminalized since in the last 25 years,
Derek,
thankfully.
I can't, like, this is risky.
Just don't touch anything. No, don't touch anything. Okay. Don't touch anything.
The photo in the very back there.
Oh God, now we're going to talk about it. Okay, great.
No, people asked.
Yeah. Okay. Real quick, we have 1 minute to do this.
That's a poster of the broadcast of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway Radio Network and its history over the years. And we were all supposed to sign it, and it was going to go to sponsors. And then they realized that one of the photos was incorrect. So they gave each one of us one of them. So that's one of them. This behind me is the German painter Theodor Groll, came through Indianapolis at the turn of the century and he did this photo. There's a huge original of it at the Indianapolis Museum of Art, Newfields, and it's called Washington Street at Dusk. And it's my favorite painting of all time. I'm trying to move my body so you can see it. It's my favorite painting of all time, and it's Washington Street and he painted it between 1899 and 1902, and that's this painting, and there's the Capitol building, and I love it. So there you go.
Very nice. Yeah.
See?
You do love the city, that's for sure.
I
We
do.
come back on the show, Bite or bleep, and we'll tie a bow on this thing. Episode 296. Man, we're nearing 300, buddy. Here on the ISC Sports Network, it's Corey and Schultz, presented by Bailey and Wood Financial Group.
Hey, see which games we going to tonight?
You know we cover all sports in Central Indiana. Hop in. It's going to be a long night.
Bailey and Wood Mortgage Lender, proud partner of News 8.
Sorry, I had a technical difficulty there said your browser failed to play the video clip. I don't know what ended up happening there.
I was watching Anthony.
It was
ready
just
to go to the game. They go to all the games. Sports 8 goes to all the games presented by Bailey and Wood.
Oh, was it really fine for you? Was there no message that appeared on your screen? There was a message that appeared on my screen. It said, "Hey, the video failed to play," and I was like, So
Derek,
I aborted. Abort.
Get with the 21st century.
Yeah, sorry about that. My fault. Maybe I should redo the commercial break. Chateau Kitchens brings you Buy It or bleep. They are in the business of in-home transformations. It's at Chateau Kitchen, chateaukitchens.com. Stephen Moore and his team of designers and builders and manufacturers and everything. Plumbers, electricians, floor companies, all the companies that they work with as a contractor to help you, whether it be your bathroom, your kitchen, your basement, anything on the interior of your home. Chateau Kitchens can tackle your next home project. Go to chateaukitchens.com or check them out on socials at Chateau Kitchens, Facebook, Instagram. See the before and after pictures. Absolutely beautiful. Big Ten Media Days going on right now. Who knew Indiana would be such a draw, right? It's still so weird. National champs, and they're like the first ones that people are talking about. Bite or bleep, statement number one, Jake. Indiana and Notre Dame will both easily be college football playoff teams this season.
With the expansion, I will buy it easily. I mean, obviously, there's nothing easy about it, regardless of who you are. But yes, I think both of them are in very good position. Indiana's schedule is a little tricky. Notre Dame, I think, is going to be very, very good. Obviously, I think Ohio State will again be the cream of the Big Ten. Even though I realized last year Indiana won the Big Ten and beat Ohio State, but I'm saying going into it, we thought Ohio State was going to be the cream of the crop in the Big Ten. I think, again, that's going to be the case this year with the thought, and they have a ton of talent. So, but yes, I think Indiana and Notre Dame will get in.
Yeah, I think Notre Dame's got an easier schedule than IU does. Their road games this year are Syracuse, BYU, Carolina, and Purdue. And the only game that I think gives you any pause at all is probably BYU. They've got Miami on the schedule who could be tough too, but really outside of that, it's the same ACC teams that they've been beating on for the past couple of years. They've got Wisconsin at Lambeau, and Wisconsin's way down. And nobody thinks anything of them, I don't think, again this season. So I think ND's got an easier path, but Indiana's talent level and the whole deal. I mean, I think you're at the point now where you have to give them the benefit of the doubt too as the national champs. And, whether or not they're as good as Ohio State, honestly, Jake, I don't even really care at this point. I think you're still kind of riding the euphoria, right, of what happened last year. It legitimized them. It legitimized the program. It almost feels like everything that they do for the rest of their existence is house money now.
Okay, I have one
really
for you,
does.
Derek. You ready? Buy it or bull, Schultz. This year, Purdue's football team will have a larger number in terms of their total number of wins than the seed that the basketball team gets in the NCAA tournament.
No, I'll say bleep because I'm expecting. I would think the basketball team would be like a 6 or 7 seed, and Purdue's not going to touch that. I do think that they're going to break the Big Ten winless drought and the Power 4 winless drought for that matter. They've got Maryland this year at home. They don't have Michigan. They don't have Ohio State. They don't have Oregon. So I do think that they were competitive last year. I mean, they were more competitive than what a 2-10 team was, but they blew it at Minnesota. They blew it against Rutgers.
But I think you can see the foundation that they do have a coach that has a fire in.
Yeah, that knows what he's doing, and he's got a staff that knows what they're doing. I just hope, they've been bad, don't get me wrong, but they've also had just horrific luck. Right. And I think that eventually will reverse itself, at least slightly, going into this season.
Here's one for you, Derek, on a buy it. I'm just simply going to say this. Buy it when people say the Pacers will wear the pinstripes this year. I am told that they will wear 5 different uniforms this year, and that does include the pinstripes.
It's their best jersey. That's my hot take. Pinstripes are their best jersey. They were a lot of people say the Flojos. A lot of people like the Reggie Miller rookie era. Pacers have been blessed with a lot of good uniforms over the years. The ABA uniforms were really sharp too, but I think the pinstripes are their best uniforms. I actually love the modern take on the pinstripes because the font is different. So it's like the current Indiana font with the pinstripes. I think it's a super sleek look. I love it.
Okay.
I think they did a great job with it. Yeah, but I buy it too. I really like it. Thanks to our tremendous sponsor, Chateau Kitchens, who you see right here in my background. You're also going to see the other sponsors in the background too, including Chili Water Brewing and Hoagies and Hops, 42nd and Boulevard, hoagiesandhops.com for their catering menu, and Chili Water, delicious cold beers always on tap. Jake still owes me a date there. And our friends at Bailey & Wood Financial Group, BAWFG.com. Their golf.
Well, I owe you money. I owe you money, don't I?
Yeah, you've owed me money for a long time.
Okay, I'll Venmo that to you.
You're lucky. At a different point in my life, it would have come to fisticuffs, but
I got to use AI for that. I'll get it over.
It's not come to that, thankfully. For Jake, I'm Derek. We'll see you next time here on Query and Schultz. Have a great week.
At Bailey